Hi friend, it's JP from softsounds.com, and in this video I want to show you my approach to mixing bass guitar. My unmixed bass sounds like this. Because this bass has been recorded in the way that it has been plugged straight into the audio interface, at first I want to use this pedal emulation plugin to shape the starting sound of my bass. If the bass has been recorded through an amp or some kind of DA pedal, then you don't necessarily need this kind of plugin. I use this TSC audio plugin because it instantly gives you that rock bass sound, and it's totally free. So let's take a listen how this sounds. So this is just to shape the starting sound, but like I said, if you already have a good sounding bass tone, you can skip this phase and go straight to the EQ, which is the next phase. I like to use this SSL channel strip. It has EQ and compressor in it. Let's take a listen what this does. The bass sounds more present and it cuts through the mix. So let's take a look at the settings. Although this is bass, you want to use the low cut filter, get rid of the lowest sub-frequencies. Also, bass doesn't really need frequencies above 4 to 5K, so you want to make room for other instruments with high cut filter. Next, I have two boosts here, smaller one on 1.5K and a bigger one on 1K. These two help the bass to cut through better and also give that grit and aggressiveness to the bass tone. Then you want to cut out some muddiness or sometimes hunkiness. For me, the bass sounded bad from around 280 Hz. Sounds like this. You can find the frequency by boosting a lot and moving it around. When you hit the spot that sounds bad, you can then cut it out. The final EQing move is a small low frequency boost, around 80 Hz. Usually the EQing process goes more or less like this. If you're using a more visual EQ, then this same EQ curve would look something like this, and you can use any EQ you have. I like this one, but you don't have to use this exact same EQ, but the same principles apply. Next up, I have a compression going on in the same plugin, and the point is to even up the bass performance a bit. Let's take a listen what this does. Fast attack and fast release, pretty subtle compression. You could use also a medium attack, but since this compressor doesn't have that option, I'm going with the fast one. So like I said, the point is to even up the bass performance. If you take a look at the waveform of the bass, you can see that the intro is a bit more quiet, but I want the bass to be more consistent. So let's take a listen from intro to verse, first without compression and then with compression. Okay, there's another compressor as well. So the first compressor made the performance more even, and this second compressor gives more sustain to the bass, and it also gives consistency. Medium attack and slowish release could be faster. The slower to release, the more sustain, and correspondingly faster to release, the more energy the notes have. Let's take a listen what it would sound with the fast release. Definitely more energy in the transients, but I want more sustain, so I'm going with a medium release. You can hear the difference in the longer notes, first without compression and then with compression. A good starting point when you're compressing bass is to use medium attack and medium release. EQ and compression are the most important things when you're mixing bass. The next thing is pretty subtle, and that is saturation. This can make the bass sound more thick and fuller without actually EQing, because saturation is mild distortion. It brings out some ear-pleasing harmonics. So let's take a listen what this does. And you can use any saturation plugin for this purpose. The last plugin in the signal chain is Multiband Compressor, and I use it only to compress the low end. You can set it around 100 Hz and bypass the rest of the bands. Then you can select how much of the compressed low end you want to your bass, and you can do it with the makeup gain here. Okay, there's one more thing I want to show you. In case you have uneven bass track that you can't seem to get under control, for example pick sounds and random poking notes, in that kind of situation, you can try to use limiter to even up the bass track. You want to turn both the threshold and the output down, otherwise you're making it louder. Then set the threshold to a point where it starts to limit the loudest notes. This is all I got from mixing bass right now, and if you want to make pro sounding music from your home, check out this free guide that I have for you, how to turn your homemade demos into pro sounding full songs. You can download it from toughtones.com/guide. Thank you for watching this video, leave thumbs up and subscribe. Cheers!